Provost Nawasiki, the ceremonies may begin.
While we remain standing, the invocation will be given by the Reverend Dr. Johnny Youngblood, St. Paul's Community Baptist Church, Brooklyn, New York.
Our Creator, our friend, our guide, we thank Thee now for our presence in this world, and we thank Thee for the particularity of this place and its purpose. We now invoke Your presence in a special way, and we seek Thy divine delight. We thank You for the life and spirits of every man and woman who orchestrate the leadership of this program in this place. We thank You for the privilege of honing minds, shaping spirits, and molding characters, that this world might become all that You designed it to be. We thank You for the parents. We thank You for the young people themselves. And we pray Thy choicest blessings upon them and upon this world that Thou hast given unto us. We thank You for all of Your mercy shown by way of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, even Muhammad and Jesus. And we pray that You would use us all to Thy glory and Thy honor. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. I will now introduce to you those members of the Dais party who will not be actively participating in the ceremony. Dean Thomas Oliver, Dean Lincoln Sesson, Professor Clifton Harrell, Dr. Betty Shabazz, Dr. William H. Boone, Dr. Raphael Zambrana, Superintendent Joyce Carpen, Dr. Samuel Proctor, Dr. Gwendolyn Baker, Trustee Robert Pickens, Dean Emmanuel Gonzalez, Dean Joali Carroll, Dr. Doris Withers, Professor Herb Phoenix, and Dr. Betty Gilmore. Thank you. Others will be introduced as they are asked to come forward. And now, as we continue with the program, greetings will be brought from the Board of Trustees of the State University of New York by the Honorable Thomas Tam.
Thank you very much. Trustee Bob Pickens, President Jackson, honorable guests, distinguished faculty and students. It is a great honor for me to appear before you today and to bring you greetings from the Board of Trustees. I am a graduate of the City University system. Without the City University of New York, I would never have the opportunity to receive a college education and to go on from there. It therefore gives me immense pleasure to speak to you as a former student and now as a trustee of this excellent university. We can argue whether this great city that we live in, being a gorgeous mosaic or a melting pot. The fact is that nowhere in the world is there another city that can boast of a more diverse collection of cultures and languages. This distinction can be both a strength and a weakness for our society. A serious weakness if there is mutual suspicion and dissension among the diverse groups, and a formidable strength if there is mutual respect and sharing of a common goal. In these economically lean times, when the available resources become less abundant, tensions flare up when everyone is scrambling for the meager pie. It is easy to draw the line along the difference of our skin colors Sure, it is important to take pride in our own culture and to believe in our own worth. But it is also easy to point the accusing finger at all the parties on the other side of the line. When we are too busy blaming one another, however, we forget about the big picture. What is the big picture? It is the poor performance of our economy. It is the decline of our productivity and innovation vis-à-vis international competition. It is the inadequate training of our students in college. It is the inadequate preparation of our students in public schools. It is the ravaging epidemic of AIDS and drug addictions. It is also the inefficiency of our healthcare system, which failed to produce appreciable health status improvement despite enormous costs. It is the ever-escalating problem of crime and homelessness. It is the increasing focus on our isolation as individuals rather than on our common fate as a society. That is the big picture, and it affects us all because we are in it all together. We can continue to fight for the crumbs, or we can work together to bake a bigger pie. Sometimes we can get confused and forget about the big picture. We can sink into indifference or despair, or else explode into violent outbursts in a desperate gesture of protest. It is easy to be swept into an emotional uproar when we are drawn into racial acrimony. It is easier to pour our energy into blaming the other parties for all the wrongs than to resolve our differences or work together to redraw the big picture. Sometimes we forget that this is not the problem of one group. We need each other to work out a solution that affects us all. I once read that there is a Chinese curse: may you live in interesting times. As I look around, I think that the times can't get much more interesting than what is happening in New York. But these interesting times need not be a curse. They can become a challenge for us to show the world the kind of stuff that we are made of and the kind of future that we can make for ourselves. This challenge is now being taken up by people like Chancellor Reynolds and President Jackson. And I urge that all of you take up the challenge as well. On behalf of the Board of Trustees of the City University of New York, I wish you all health, happiness, and success. Thank you very much.
Our three additional day's guests, Dr. Patricia Ferdinand, Dr. Professor Ola Hightower, and Dr. Suzanne Nicolescu. Greetings will be brought by the President of Medgar Evers College, Dr. Edison O. Jackson.
Provost Nowosiki, members of the Board of Trustees, Dr. Samuel Proctor, honorees, colleagues, students, and guests. Greeting on the occasion of our celebrating our annual academic convocation. Some would argue that convocations are old-fashioned and archaic. However, I am one who believes that rituals, customs, and traditions are important in our society, for they give us some context in which to frame and inform our behavior for the future. Most established institutions of higher learning celebrate two major events in their academic life besides commencement. They are Convocation and Founders Day. We need to be reminded that symbols are important to our students. They help to set and reinforce the appropriate academic culture. And by our example today, we are attempting to create and reinforce an ethos of intellectual excellence and a commitment to humanity and community. We here at Medgar Evers College of the City University of New York are working to develop our institution into a community of scholars and academic excellence. Today's ceremony, with all of its parts, is to serve notice to all that we dare to dream dreams of the best in academia and are willing to step forward and claim that dream. Medgar Evers College stands for excellence. It stands for community. It stands for justice, peace, and love, and for an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of those who enter our portals. I liken us today to the life of Jonathan Livingston Seagull. I commend to you today the life of Jonathan Livingston Seagull. He learned to soar beyond the visual constraints of today. He knew that there were greater achievements to life than those which could be readily seen. He also knew that he would never realize those greater achievements if he did not at least try to reach them. So as we celebrate our achievements and that of our honorees today, let us be ever mindful that there are no constraints that can be imposed upon us except those that we impose upon ourselves. Thank you.
The Medgar Evers College Choir, under the direction of Mr. Dixon Guillaume, will sing Psalm 117, Song of the Praise. Thank you, Mr. Guillaume and the McGivers College Choir. I think that was an inspirational rendition. President Jackson will now recognize our honorees on this occasion and award the honorary degrees.
We have two guests today whom we recognize and honor for outstanding and distinguished achievements in their respective fields. They are Mr. Frank Mickens, Principal of Boys and Girls High School, and Mr. David Hammonds, world-renowned artist. I asked Mr. David Hammonds, escorted by Dr. Margaret Baker Green, Chairperson of the Humanities Division, to please come forward. Dr. Margaret Baker Green, representing the faculty, will now read the citation. Dr. Green.
Whereas David Hammonds, the 1991 MacArthur Award winner, is perhaps the foremost American conceptual artist of the past 2 decades, and since 1970 has been featured in over 50 one-man and group exhibitions at such prestigious institutions as the Museum of Modern Art, the Oakland Museum, the Los Angeles County Museum, the New York Museum of Contemporary Art, the Maryland Institute College of Art, the Studio Museum in Harlem, the Carnegie Institute, and whereas photographs of David Hammond's work appear in several major catalogs. And he and his art have been the subject of articles and reviews in Art in America, the New York Times, Art Magazine, Art News, Art and Auction, The Village Voice, Real Life Magazine, Voice Chronicles and Choices, Connoisseur, Art Forum, New York Newsday, Art Issues, Sports Illustrated, Art and Antiques, and whereas David Hammonds has received awards in addition to the MacArthur from the Municipal Art Society, the American Academy in Rome, the New York Foundation for the Arts, the John Simon Guggenheim Memorial Foundation, and the National Endowment for the Arts. And whereas David Hammonds attended the Los Angeles Trade Technical College, Chouinard Art Institute, and the Otis Art Institute of the Parsons School of Design, and has, with remarkable insight, produced works rich in ethnic nuances. And these works address the Black urban experience and engage viewers of varied backgrounds. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the City University of New York, the President, the faculty, staff, students, and alumni of Medgar Evers College join in respect and admiration for David Hammonds and bestow upon him the degree of Doctor of Fine Arts honoris causa. In witness thereof and whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Medgar Evers College to be affixed this 5th day of December, 1991.
Mr. David Hammonds, by the authority invested in me by the Board of Trustees of the City University of New York, I hereby award you the degree of Doctor of Fine Arts, honoris causa, rights, privileges, and honors appertaining thereto. I will now ask Dr. Green to place the hood. Colleagues, students, I now present to you Dr. David Hammonds.
Thank you for having me here. And I would like for you to join in me saying this phrase: think it's not illegal yet. Think it's not illegal yet. Think It's not illegal yet. Thank you.
I ask Mr. Frank Mickens, escorted by Dr. Herbert Wilson, Deputy Chairperson of the Education Division, to please come forward. Dr. Herbert Wilson, representing the faculty of Medgar Evers College, will read the citation. Dr. Wilson.
Whereas Frank N. Mickens, during his educational career, has served in the positions of teacher, basketball coach, dean, assistant principal, and principal. And whereas Frank N. Mickens was born and raised in the Bedford-Stuyvesant area of Brooklyn, New York, graduated from Erasmus Hall High School in 1964, completed his undergraduate studies at the State University of New York at Potsdam, received a master's degree from New York University, completed postgraduate work at Columbia University, and in the spring of 1992 will attend Harvard University's Principal Center at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. And whereas from 1979 to 1982, Frank N. Mickens served as assistant principal of Junior High School 109 in Queens, and as principal of Junior High School 324 in Bedford-Stuyvesant, and principal of Martin Luther King High School in 1985, and for the past 5 years as principal of Boys and Girls High School in Brooklyn. And whereas Frank N. Mickens received awards and honors from over 26 civic, educational, and religious organizations, including the National Association of University Women and the NAACP, and has contributed to the improvement of the quality of life for New Yorkers through his professional and civic activities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the City University of New York, the president, faculty, staff, students, and alumni of Medgar Evers College join in admiration and respect for Frank N. Mickens and bestow upon him the degree of Doctor of Letters, honoris causa. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Medgar Evers College to be affixed this 5th day of December, 1991. Edison O. Jackson, President.
Mr. Frank Mickens, by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the City University of New York, I hereby award you the degree of Doctor of Letters, honoris causa, along with the rights, privileges, and honors appertaining thereto. It gives me great pleasure to present to you this degree from Medgar Evers College of the City University of New York. I will now ask Dr. Wilson to place the hood. Colleagues, students, I now present to you Dr. Frank N. Mickens.
I saw on the program it said I had 3 minutes, and I'm going to try to stick to that. I just want to say that I had the audacity to always call myself Dr. Mickens. And they said, well, where did you get your degree? I said, I got my degree from the street. I had a doctorate in streetology, but it's such a pleasure to have a real one today. And I want to thank you, Medgar College. Because if you didn't give me a doctorate of letters, who would have given one? If you didn't have the audacity to say, boy, you did good, who would have done it in this town? I'm here today not for Frank Mickens. I'm representing 4,500 students, the 17th largest high school in America. I'm representing their aspirations and their dreams. A school that has brought joy to this community, a school that has brought joy to this city, a school that has indeed gained a national reputation for excellence in academics and self-esteem. It cannot be denied. As I go all over this country, and I've been to Boston and recently to Harvard University and receiving awards on behalf of that school, I want to let you know that I've only been the message. This is not the story of Frank Mickens. It is a story of a man, perhaps, who's been a messenger. And that message starts in this community. Obviously, I want to say thank you so much to my dad, who is here. Oh, please. You talk about corporal punishment. I don't know if you want to go. Wasn't too many words said, but we knew what to do. Anytime you were chased down Lexington Avenue, he only hit me one time. He chased me down Lexington Avenue, and that's all he ever did. But I never ever did anything wrong after that. So, obviously, that's been a special. And my mom, Hortense Mickens, who's a graduate of Medgar Evers and a master's degree. So there wouldn't have been really that many people today if she didn't send me a list of all the people to invite. Half of Brooklyn. Could all those people stand up, please? Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. I'm trying to run a major institution in this town, and she's sending me a list of 75 to 100 people. Talking about, you know you have a lot, I know you have a lot of work. Boy, you don't know how much work we have. And so there are so many special people that delivered that message. Constant Rose, my aunt, Alicia, my cousin, just stand up among the many people who helped me. All right. And so that message has been, as a boy of this community. Liz Lockett, who was my teacher at junior high school 57, Liz, stand up. And then I became, and then she went on to be an assistant principal, and lo and behold, a young man of 32 years old comes popping in on Gates Avenue in Bedford-Stuyvesant as her boss in 1981. And then there were obviously, when you are an agent of change, sometimes they say, well, he's hard and he's this and that, but I want to tell you what I am. I'm charismatic. I'm an educational leader. I'm a national figure of excellence in public education. And if you don't think you are that,
and you believe what other people say, then you're going to have a problem. So I want to thank Annie B. Dobbs and the school board and Leila Clark for coming out and supporting me, especially when I was young. And you still supporting me as I'm old. Thank you so much. And there's some students here who we graduated. I didn't know they could sing. When you stand up, graduated. I don't know. Dr. Gwen Baker came to our school a year ago and said, boy, you done good. I don't care what the rest of the Board of Education says. I don't care what the bureaucrats say. You've got a school, and you're effective. And we have enjoyed your visit and your strength that you've given us. Dr. Jackson, where's Dr. Jackson? Dr. Jackson, your letter of support when we under tremendous pressure for talking about young people having self-esteem, for being somebody, your letter stuck out clear as the day it's done, because it came from you and it came from this institution. And it came from our community, and I thank you. Betty Shabazz, I want to tell you, I would not be able to stand tall, walk tall, have confidence, and not beg anybody for anything if it wasn't for you and your husband. If it wasn't for you, I mean, I should be whipped. I should be whipped if I ever begged anybody in this town for anything. Because what your husband have taught us to, you got to stand tall. You got to be bright. You got to be that shining light, particularly for our young people. Dr. Johnny Youngblood. Dr. Johnny Youngblood doing all that work over there. All that work, I hear about it in Bed-Stuy because it's reaching East New York and Brownsville. And you are addressing the concerns of our young people today. And thank you so much. Dr. Samuel Proctor. You don't remember this, Dr. Proctor. I was 17 years old in Bethany Baptist Church, some 20, I'm trying to get it right, I think it's 28 years. 28 years ago.
That was my father.
That's your father. You gave a presentation, and I never forget, I gave a short little boy speech, and you said, boy, you're going to be all right one day. And so it's so important for me to be right here with you. And just for our young people, I'm glad there's so many young people that came in here today. Young people that go to this college and are doing well in education. The pressure on you is unbearable. And I say to you, it's going to be a hard struggle. Nothing comes easy. And that you have got to make a statement. And yes, you've got to work hard. You've got to work hard. But see, I was there. I go to work every morning at 6:30. I'm in my office at 6:30. We'll be there at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and I'll do that Saturday and Sunday so I can walk tall. I can talk that talk. That's it. That's it. This is not Hollywood. My dad said, man, I saw you on Channel 4, Channel 7, Channel 11. I said, Dad, it's not Hollywood. It is not Hollywood. You've got to work, and you've got to be strong, and you've got to feel good about yourself. And the most important thing, you've got to give back. You've got to give back to your community. So many people in this town saying, Frank, don't go. Don't go to Harvard. I think the record is clear. 23 years of service, principal of 3 turnaround schools. So you shouldn't ask me to give too much more back. And all I say, I'm looking forward to going to Harvard University. I deserve that right. And as political times change, I will be back, and I will be back to make those decisions that need to be made for our young people. Thank you.
The Medgevas College Choir will now render a selection titled Praise Melody.
When peace like a river attended my ways, when sorrow like seas, billows they roll. Whatever my lot, God has taught me to say, it is well, it is well with my soul. Oh, it is well with my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. Oh, it is well. It is
At this time, I would like to present President Jackson, who will introduce the speaker for this occasion. Dr. Jackson.
Our convocation orator, Samuel Dewick Proctor, is Professor Emeritus, Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and Pastor Emeritus of the Abyssinian Baptist Church of New York City. He began his career as pastor of Pond Street Baptist Church, Providence, Rhode Island, served as teacher, dean, and as president of Virginia Union University at Richmond, as president of North Carolina A&T State University, administrative positions with the Peace Corps in Nigeria and Washington, and the National Council of Churches, the Office of Economic Opportunity, the Institute for Services to Education, and the University of Wisconsin at Madison. He is a native of Norfolk, Virginia, an alumnus of Virginia Union University, Koza Theological Seminary, and Boston University, where he earned a Doctor of Theology degree in 1950. Currently, he serves as adjunct professor at the United Theological Seminary, Dayton, Ohio, the School of Theology at both Boston University and Virginia Union University, and as 1990-91 as visiting professor at the Divinity School, Vanderbilt University. In 1990, he was a Lyman Beecher Lecturer at the Divinity School, Yale University. Dr. Proctor is a member of the governing boards of the United Negro College Fund, Colgate Rochester Koza Theological Seminary, Rochester, New York, Union Theological Seminary of New York, and the Overseers Visiting Committee for the Divinity School, Harvard University. He has been awarded the Outstanding Alumnus Award, Boston University, the Distinguished Service Award, State University of New York at Plattsburgh, the Rutgers Medal for Distinguished Service, and the honorary doctorate degree by 38 colleges and universities. Studies and lecture tours had carried him to India and the Far East, Israel and the Middle East, Russia and Eastern Europe, Scandinavia and Western Europe, East and West and North Africa, New Zealand and the South Pacific, Canada and Caribbean islands. Dr. Proctor is the author of the Young Negro in American Sermons from the Black Pulpit, Preaching about Crisis in the Community. He is a member of Sigma Phi Phi, the Supreme Council of Prince Hall Mason Southern Jurisdiction, and a life member of the NAACP and Kappa Alpha Phi. Dr. Proctor is married to Bessie Tate Proctor and the father of Herbert, Timothy, Samuel, and Stephen. Colleagues, students, it is my honor and privilege to present Dr. Samuel Dewick Proctor, my mentor, my teacher, and my friend.
I'm very grateful to President Jackson for this most generous introduction, and to Provost Wasiki, Dr. Tam, representing the governing body of higher education for the city of New York, and to our distinguished honorees today, Dr. Hammonds and Dr. Mickens, to the members of the governing board and of the faculty and of the alumni who are here, the Alumni Association, and to the students of this distinguished institution. You have honored me greatly by inviting me to be here for this signal occasion. I share the view of Dr. Jackson that we need more convocations in our institutions to help us to define what our values really are, to help us to understand what success ought to be if it ever should arrive. I often ask my colleagues in higher education, you know, what would it look like if we really should succeed at what we say we're trying to do? These celebrations help us to clarify that vision of what success ought to be if we should ever achieve it. Now that introduction is highly flattering, and I'm embarrassed because I wrote all of it and mailed it here to him. But I do declare, when I hear about those honorary degrees, I flinch because I happen to know, and I want Brother Mickens and Brother Hammonds to understand this. I know that most of those degrees were given to me in lieu of a decent fee for a commencement address. If I had fewer honorary degrees, I'd have more money. Oh, you can see how relieved I was to find out I was not getting an honorary degree today, right? I want to speak with you now on the aristocracy of the mind. I know that the faculty is here, and I know that we have many significant people of the community, but I really had in mind the students of this college when I began to put together these remarks for today. The aristocracy of the mind. I read in the newspaper that Queen Elizabeth was the richest woman in the world, with a fortune of over $7 billion, all by herself. I can't count that far, but it sounds like an awful lot of money to me. And the fact is that she did not work for a dime of it. She's been unemployed all of her life. Speaking of merit, meritocracy, the main thing she did was to be born into aristocracy. It is crown money. It has been in the family for generations, yea, for centuries. So don't get excited about that kind of aristocracy. You will not achieve it. It's beyond reach. That aristocracy of money is not available. No matter what you do, you can't catch up with the queen money-wise. There is another kind of aristocracy, the aristocracy of a big and distinguished family name. We have them here in the United States, the Cabots, the Lodges, you know. They're all around. One distinguished name right now is on television down in Florida. We regret very much that these are the circumstances, but that's a great and a distinguished name. That's another kind of aristocracy that is inherited. Just get born in the right family and you've got it made. Well, other kinds of aristocracies, of bloodlines, you know, sometimes the money does not last, but the bloodline is there. In Virginia, we have bloodlines like that. We know who they are. And sometimes in these distinguished families, there goes a career every now and then of some quality, and sometimes there are great embarrassments in these bloodlines. There's aristocracy of name and of money and of just a genetic chain, the bloodline. I was born of the descendants of slaves. And in America, they don't count my kind of descendancy of any significance. But I want to talk to you about another aristocracy that is open to everybody. And that is the aristocracy of the mind and of the spirit, available to everybody, to everybody. That's the true aristocracy. When you learn how to transcend all of the antecedents, all of those ugly things that might have sought to destroy you, you rise above that. You transcend all of those glandular, neurological necessities and urges that would lead you astray somewhere. You learn how to harness all of that and rise to aristocracy in that regard. You learn how to associate yourself with all of those persons who have been in hot pursuit of the good, the beautiful, the true, and the ultimate. And in that pursuit, you achieve this aristocracy again. Unfortunately, there are persons who have come to believe that if they did not inherit one of those other forms of aristocracy, that they're nothing, that they don't amount to anything. I remember teaching a course in Rutgers, and we got to Booker T. Washington, and some of the students said they wanted to skip over Booker Washington. They didn't want to talk about him because they thought that he had sold out in some respect here or there. And I said, let's put his political views aside for the moment. Let's look at his life and see what he did. And when I said he walked all the way from the Blue Ridge Mountains in West Virginia to the Chesapeake Bay to go to school, how do you estimate that? They said, Doc, let's talk about him if he did that. Walked all the way from the Blue Ridge Mountains. He crossed the Brown Mountain, the Long Mountain, the Appalachian Chain to go to school at Hampton Institute. There is a kind of aristocracy of which we need to see a great deal more today. I came today to advocate that. In this society, I think we're not giving education the emphasis that it ought to have. And I think too many of our young people have been deceived into believing that there are some goals out there that can be achieved quickly and easily, and they go for that. I want to invite you now to be in pursuit of the life of the mind and the world of ideas and join this other aristocracy. I want you to learn that you do not have to live in the indicative mood all of your life. I came, I saw, I ate, I sat down, I got up, I'll be back tomorrow, like a German shepherd dog in the indicative mood. Any animal can live in the indicative mood. I want to ask you to live beyond the imperative mood. Go, come, sit down, shut up, get your paper in on time, pay taxes, die, the imperative mood. I want to invite you now to live in the subjunctive mood. I may and I may not. I may do what you think I'm going to do, but after consulting my value system, I may not. I may become what my origins would suggest that I may become, but after assessing other goals and other teleological aspects of my life, I may say no and do something else. I live with a sense of the perhaps. I canvass all of my options. I know what my margin of freedom is, and I plan to occupy it and to use it. I live subjunctively. That's the life of the mind, and I invite you to join that. And that's a part of the aristocracy of which I speak. Medgar Evers. I remember going to Mississippi to invite Medgar to come to Ghana to be an associate director of the Peace Corps there. I said, Medgar, you've had a hard life here, and you're young, you've got a long way to go. Could I encourage you to come to Africa and take a 2-year breather, learn about Africa from Ghana, from Accra, roam all over the place, we'll give you money to travel, be one of our associate directors of the Peace Corps, and get refreshed, then come back to Mississippi and do your thing. He said, Sam, let me think about that for a while. I went on back to Washington, 1963. I'd already been in Nigeria for a year and a half, and then I was brought to Washington to be the associate director under Mr. Shriver. And one of the main things I wanted to do would be to get some persons like Medgar Evers into the Peace Corps to help young African students to meet some of these real heroes that we had around. And I got a phone call from him saying, Sam, I appreciate that. Could you hold that for about another 3 or 4 years? Well, I may not even be here 3 or 4 years from now. I may be back where I was. He said to me, I want to go. I want to go so much. But he said, I can't leave my people right now. There's that aristocracy that I'm talking about. And within about 7 weeks to that day, Medgar had his head blown off almost by an assassin's bullet. But he will remain always a jewel amongst us, and you've honored him greatly by naming this fine school in his sacred memory. When I think about people like Medgar Evers, I think about persons who have already discovered what the real aristocracy is in this world. Now, here in 1991, we have some very serious challenges facing us. You may not realize it now, but the world is going to change somewhat because the Soviet Union is practically finished. You know, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics has fallen apart. And there were many people around the world counting on the Soviet Union remaining. Many people were depending on them for financial and moral support. Many people were counting on the Soviet Union remaining as a kind of a balance in emphases in the world. They don't want to see one set of ideas and one kind of culture dominating the whole world. And now with the collapse of the Soviet Union, something's going to happen. Too many people, and especially people in what we call the third world, are going to be shopping around now, looking for another kind of moral and spiritual leader. I don't know what the outcome's going to be, and you don't know either, because this is novelty in the world, and there is place for novelty in the world. I'll tell you something else. This country is going to change. We're not going to sit around here and have a beautiful baseball player sign up for $29 million and 40,000 people are homeless in New York City. We're not going to settle for that. No, that cannot last very long. I just heard on National Public Radio, and I suppose their source was good, that there are 20% of the people in this country who have 80% of all the money. And the other 80% have only 20% of the money. That's not going to last either. That's going to change. That's going to change. We never came out of the Great Depression. I want to wake up all of these political scientists and social scientists around here. I was there, Charlie. I lived. You can look at me and tell I was there. You know who brought us out of the Great Depression? Hitler. Hitler and the war, 1939. That's what brought us out. We've been borrowing money ever since, and now we owe $3 trillion to somebody. We've never had this economy to function right since the Great Depression. And somebody's going to rise up and say, we've got to find some better answers. So there's a lot for young people in Medgar Evers College to do. You need to get a vision of the world as you would like to see it become, and then find that small part of it that you want to work on. You don't just sit around and wait because you weren't born with a fortune. You weren't born with a big family name. You weren't born in some great bloodline. God gave you a brain and a spirit and a mind. And you could keep on asking the why questions and look for some answers and enjoy the life of the mind and the world of ideas. I have an apology to make to my teachers at Virginia State College who had me during my first 2 years. I was so young. I was 16. I didn't belong in college. I kept skipping because my daddy played ball with the principal and they just kept on skipping me. I tried to do everything I saw the big boys do. I nearly killed myself trying to learn how to swallow corn whiskey from North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. I choked myself to death. And I sat in my room one day the longest time practicing how to inhale a Lucky Strike cigarette. See, I saw the big boys draw in deep, you know, and make it come out of their ears and out of their hair and everywhere. And I just sat around hard trying to learn it. All I wanted was a Kappa fraternity pin and a pretty girl on my arm and get on out of there with some kind of diploma and buy me a Chevrolet convertible and cruise up and down Church Street in Norfolk. I didn't have any ambition at all
You hear me? That's all I wanted to do. And I would just make enough grades to keep my scholarship and get by. I played the saxophone in a jazz band. And Billy Taylor, you know, Mr. Billy Taylor, he was our accompanist. Yeah, Billy and I had the band together. You know, we had more fun. And honest to goodness, the next time we had that much fun, I hate to say it about a funeral, but at Count Basie's funeral, I was preaching Count Basie's funeral, and Billy Taylor and Joe Withers were there, and I made Billy go to the piano and play a song that we could all sing. And the tears just flowed down my face because I remember when we were 17 years old, young fellas with a jazz band at Virginia State College in Petersburg. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to get annoyed with any kind of ambition. I didn't want to be Dr. Nothing. I just wanted to get out of there and get back to Church Street and show off. Now I'll tell you how important the church can be in the life of people. Now, I went out of there, started sneaking around the Bank Street Church, just sniffing around, you know, looking to see if there was anything redemptive about the church at all. And D.C. Rice would stand up there and keep preaching and preaching and preaching, and finally it began to hook into me. Said, I am more important than I am regarding myself to be. I'm somebody. And back in college, I roamed downtown, had to sneak off the campus because I didn't want my buddies to see me going to church. I was sliding down the hill behind the power plant, just peeping to see if nobody was looking. Isn't that a shame? Hiding, going out here to worship God because I was hanging out with some dudes who didn't think that was kosher. Here I'm sneaking off the campus to worship. Went down there, and Reverend J.B. Brown from down there in the Bahamas, never will forget that clipped West Indian accent. He said, as I was with Moses, so I will be with thee. I will neither fail thee nor forsake thee. Therefore be strong and of a good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest. And I said, how did he know I was coming here today? Who told that dude I was going to be here today? He shot me right in my forehead with that text, be strong and of a good courage. I was just as chicken. You talking about hypocrites, two kinds of hypocrites. Those who are no count and pretend to be good, but the other kind of hypocrite is those who are really good and keep on faking like they're bad. Yeah. I was the kind of hypocrite faking like I was nothing, and there was something in me. And I went back and started to change that. You know, my last 2 years in college, I made 2 B's and all the rest A's. Fellowships dropped on me from everywhere, for Crozer Seminary, Boston, Yale, everywhere. I didn't have to pay a dime after that. Folk finance, and there were no government grants, no equal nothing. No affirmative nothing. All of that changed. I am a witness to you young people especially that once you discern that this new aristocracy is available to you, all of your life will change. Let me summarize now by saying this. We have to learn how to recognize the worth and the dignity in all of us. I mean the innate worth and dignity. Johnny Youngblood and I were talking, you know, he's a good old buddy of mine. That robe he's got, I gave that to him, you know. That's a doctor's degree from United Seminary. He was one of my students there. And he's wearing one red robe, and I was on his committee too. I've got 2 red robes here that belong to me, both of them. Yeah, these are 2 of my doctoral students right here, both of them. Well, we were standing out in the hallway talking, you know. And we were talking about the society and some of the major problems. I said, Johnny, you know, there's a real problem here because so many people have forgotten how this country began. Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, and all of them sitting around a table saying, come on now, we got to write ourselves a Constitution. And what are we going to do? Let's go back and look at the Declaration of Independence and see how we got started. They were not evangelical Orthodox Christians, but they believed in some kind of a God. They prayed to whom it may concern. And you know, they sat down there trying to start a new nation. Huh? Going to break away from George III, going to reach back and draw on what they'd learned from other cultures around the world. You know, there was a lot already done. All the mathematics and geometry from Egypt and North Africa, all of that was around, you know. Great ideas about intellectual freedom from the Athens of Pericles, order and system from the Rome of Augustus Caesar. A whole lot was there. The Reformation had already taken place, the Renaissance, a lot was there. How are we going to get started? Brand new nation. What are we going to say? Oh, we just have an opinion we'd like to express. No, you got to say something more a priori than that. You got to stand on a rock, some kind of. Well, what ought to be the first principle? Can you think up something, George? James, can you think of something? Well, I know what we want to say after we get started, but we got to get started. Isn't that something? A nation, 250 million people bound together by a constitution, 7 articles, and there was a beginning for it. And how did they start? What was the first sentence? How did it all begin, this great nation of diversity and pluralism? We've got a raggedy aspects to it we've got to clean up, but there's been nothing like it in the face of the earth, as Dr. Tam said a few minutes ago. How did they start? They said, well, we've argued all night long, but we can't get around one basic fact with which to begin. All men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain rights that are inalienable, namely life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. That's the rock bottom proposition. You can't get any more rock than that. That's where we'll start. And that's what we ought to be saying to ourselves and to all of our children. Stop hiding around and acting like you're less than anybody. All of us are created equal and are endowed by our great Creator. You know, it's a funny feeling to see 2 of your former students running for president. I don't know whether Jesse's going to run or not, but he keeps teasing us with that. Doug Wilder has said he's going to run, and both of these are my students. Isn't that the funniest feeling you ever had? Now listen, Jesse was the quarterback of my football team at A&T and the president of my student government association. I would not look this old if I hadn't had Jesse as the president of the student body. Jesse gave me this watch I'm wearing today in 1964. It's inscribed on the back. The student government gave it to me when I came back from Africa, and I just happen to have it on today. This is the watch. Doug Wilder went to sleep in my philosophy class at Virginia Union. I'm talking about Hegel and Immanuel Kant, and I looked and Doug Wilder was asleep. That's because Doug Wilder had been working downtown at the John Marshall Hotel half through the night. Early in the morning, bussing dishes from breakfast and waiting table, running up and down the elevator, room service, and then late at night, cleaning up, scrubbing, putting out the garbage. Cottage boy, 19 years old, down at the John Marshall, one of about 8 kids over there in Churchill, the corner of 30th and P Street, right across the street from 4th Baptist Church. Bob Taylor told me he used to see those kids out there all the time. Reverend Taylor, give me a dime. Doug Wilder, governor of Virginia. And you know, when he put the garbage out at night, he put it out on Franklin Street. I've driven right by there and watched it. I said, now, if Doug put that garbage out, that's where he would have put it, right there. And right down at the bottom of Franklin Street is what? The governor's mansion. 19 years old, smelling bad, sweaty, late, tired, term papers due, exam coming up, 3 more chapters to read, putting the garbage out on Franklin Street. But if he had just turned his head, have mercy, Father, and looked down the hill, there he would have seen the governor's mansion. He could have seen the governor put the lights out in his bedroom at night. Never crossed his mind that one day I'll live in that mansion. Never crossed his mind. And there are some of you sitting in this room right now, young people, who are going to do things just as novel and distinctive. You have no idea where God will carry you. If I can just get you now to join the life of the mind and the world of ideas, and come on and join this aristocracy of the mind and of the soul, and stop putting yourself down. The next thing is everybody can learn. Everybody can learn. Everybody can learn. God passed out brains with great neutrality. The reason you may think you can't learn is because of the way the society has treated you, the way you've been stereotyped and stigmatized. But God passed out brain cells with the same abandonment and neutrality as he passed out 5 fingers on each hand and 5 toes on each foot. There's not that much difference in our mental capacity. It's what people have allowed you to do, allowed you to become, and allowed you to think about yourself. And then, of course, we get some awfully bad teaching. You know that, don't you? Some awfully bad mumblers in the classroom who will never let us know what we could learn or what we cannot learn. You know, when I was studying graduate study, I had to learn several languages for a Doctor of Theology degree. And I had to take all of these language exams. And I found out that in almost every language, there were at least 2 verbs, and many more in some languages, that were translated to know or I know. You understand? Many of you have studied French. Connaître, to know. That means I recognize it. I've seen it before. I know the color of it, know the size of it. But there's another word to know in French, savoir. Now, when are you doing connaître and when are you doing savoir? Connaître is just learning the name and the size and the shape of something. Savoir is understanding it thoroughly. I know it. Cognosco in Latin. I remember it, saw it before, know the name of it. But there's another word in Latin which means I know, and that's scio, from which we get science, huh? S-C-I-O, huh? And scio means I not only know the name of it, but I understand its whole arrangement. I understand all of the relationships within it. I know. German, können and wissen, same distinction. And in Greek, epistemai, gnosko. But when Paul said, I know whom I have believed, he used another one altogether. He said, oida, that's a different kind of knowing altogether. That's knowing like I bet my life that it's true. Now, there are some folk who have a whole lot of connaître and cognosco, but don't have any savoir or skill at all. And some folk out here on the street, ragged, teeth missing, eyes all bloated with drugs and booze, who have the capacity for a whole lot of skill and savoir, but have been denied connaître and cognosco. And all of that brain power gets wasted. You never know who it is sitting in front of you in a classroom, and you don't know who you are. Now, Dr. Mickens, we can call you doctor now, can't we? Well, he said he was a doctor all the time. Dr. Mickens may not know what I was thinking about when he was talking, but he has a buddy here, a basketball player. I don't want to call this name, but he knows who I'm talking about. Came down to Virginia Union to play basketball. And he was short, so we called him Mouse because he was little. He was too short really to be a basketball player, but he could score. And the coach brought him in. And these coaches can find basketball players, find them underneath rocks, hanging out of trees, you know, in bureau drawers. Anyway, they can find basketball. Brought him in. And here he'd been there 4 years, picture in the paper, rare scoring records and all of that. But he flunked the English comprehensive examination for the 3rd time. And the coach told me sorry that he had to go home without his degree. He played out his eligibility. I called my wife and told her how hurt I was. You know, people don't know what college presidents do. You know, we took Mouse and put him in the guest room in the president's house. Say, you can stay here if you promise me you're going to work hard and get your degree and get out of here. I don't have any money. I know that, but you can scrub and mop and clean up, and you can help my wife with this mess around here, and we're going to let you stay there. Of course, we didn't realize how basketball players behave, you know. We had to teach them how to wash those socks, you know. Teach them how to use that washing machine, you know. That had to keep that door shut on that guest room. You know, you could have some understanding of the standards we had around the place. This is not a gymnasium, this is a house. You know. Anyway. Then the next thing I said, and now we're going to give you a chance to take that exam again. Doc, I can't pass that exam. It's got that funny kind of English on it. What do you call funny English? Like, it is I. and we are they, and this is she, and I am he. We don't talk like that in Bedford-Stuyvesant. We talk plain. And I said, well, if you're going to go out here and function in America, you've got to learn standard English. That's the language of the realm. Now, don't make a fool of yourself. Learn any other kind of language you want to learn, but you better learn to master English while you're at it. Yeah, but Doc, that middle-class folk, that's bourgeois English. I said, will you stop this crazy talk and get commercial about this thing? Let's get down to business. You can understand it. He said, you think I can? Yes, you can. I said, Mouse, did I ever hear you say throw the ball to I? No, I don't talk like that. What do you say? Throw the ball to me. I said, well, see, you understand, but I need a rule. I'll get to the rule in a minute. I didn't have a rule at the moment. I was hoping that I would get one by the time I needed one. I said, did I ever hear you say we beat they last night? No, we don't talk like that. We don't beat they. So you understand the predicate nominative. I've just got to get a rule for you. Well, give me a rule, Doc, and then I think I can handle it. And I said, I'm going to give you a rule right now. Don't you ever forget it. The rule hadn't come. But, you know, I studied theology. I believe in revelations. I was waiting for one to just come. And, you know, and after a while, I kept on jiving around till the rule came. Oh, the rule came right on time, you know. And I said, Mouse, let me tell you something. There are just two kinds of people in the whole world. Only two kinds of people. With respect to grammar, only two kinds of people. Who are they, Dr. Proctor? Those who do and those who are done unto. And those who do are in the nominative case. And those who are done unto are in the objective case. You got to, yeah, that's easy. I said, now, if didn't anything happen to them, they don't belong over here in the objective case. Just leave them over here in the nominative case. He said, well, now, does that rule hold up all the time? I said, yeah, just watch how we're going to work it. And you can remember those who've been done unto because they belong to the M crowd. Whom been done unto. Him been done unto. Them been done unto. Me been done unto. The whole M crowd's been done unto. You just add us and her, and you got everybody who's been done unto. He said, what about whomever? Whomever's been done unto, we just don't know his name yet, that's all. What about whoever? Said whoever did it to him, and we don't know his name yet either. He's over here in the nominative case. He's the one that does it. These are the ones that are done unto. He said, that's easy. He said, well, what is the predicate nominative? Then I slipped into his Bed-Stuy vernacular, and I said, the predicate nominative is, well, ain't nothing happened to nobody. It is I. Did anything happen to I? Then leave I like I is. Don't bother I. You do anything to I, and I will run over here and join the M crowd. And don't you understand? He said, is that all there is to that? I said, Mouse, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. That's all that there is, and there is no more. Doc, how come I didn't know that? That's easy. It is ever so easy. It's easy because grammar comes out of experience. Grammar is no more than a language arrangement of what we do anyhow. It's just saying it with consistency, that's all. He said, I've been in school 16 years and nobody told me about the predicate nominative. I said, oh, Mouse, wait a minute. Somebody tried, but you had already decided that you had defined yourself as inferior, marginal, destined to poverty and failure, and you didn't want to hear about it. You didn't think you'd ever need to know it. God forbid. And then some other people looked at you and came to the conclusion, I don't need to teach him the predicate nominative. He'll never need it, and let you down. But you made a mistake. You ran into Sam, and I'm not going to let you conclude that you're a nobody already. I'm going to invite you into the life of the mind and into the world of ideas, starting with the predicate nominative. It's manageable. You can handle it. It's language. It belongs to you. And when you learn this, go on and learn anything else that you need to know. I want to see more and more of our young people not look upon the library as an alien place and not look upon term papers as punishment, but look upon all of these things as opportunities to join the life of the mind and the world of ideas and join the great aristocracy of the mind and of the soul. God bless you all.